And welcome back to Atreyu News. Sean Spicer abused at an Apple store. Look what he did. Little typo there. Washington House Press Secretary Sean Spicer was accosted while shopping at an Apple store in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. How does it feel to work for a fascist? Have you helped with the Russian stuff? Are you a criminal as well? Have you committed treason too, just like the president? A woman filming Spicer asks. Another brain-dead idiot under the age of 25 probably never even had a job in her life or paid $1 in tax. Let's take a listen.
Feel to work for a fascist? How does it feel? You have a great country. How do have you helped with the Russia stuff? Are you a criminal as well? Have you committed treason too, just like the president?
Thank you.
Have you committed treason too? What can you tell me about Russia?
Such a great country to allow you to
Yeah. What can you tell me about Russia, Mr. Secretary?
Thank you.
What can you tell me? You know you work for a fascist, right? You work for a fascist.
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Beach, right?
How do you feel about destroying our country, Sean? How do you feel about that? Do you feel good about the decisions you're making? About lying to the American people? Do you feel good about lying to the American people? Do you feel good
And that is how you deal with the left. They have no power. So they look for an emotional reaction. Sean, because he's a powerhouse, didn't even give her the satisfaction of any of that. Powerless, hopeless, brain dead. Done. I love it. That's how you deal with them. Wow, look at what Ivanka's looks are inspiring women all over the country to do. Well, she's damn beautiful for one. Women are flocking to plastic surgeon and undergoing procedures to copy the look of Ivanka Trump. Well, I wouldn't go that far, geez. From the Daily Star, the 35-year-old popularity is soaring in the community's country as business cash is on the blonde's trademark name. And the country's women are flocking to copy Ivanka's striking model looks. It comes after Daily Star Online revealed Ivanka was the first daughter everyone wants to look like. Well, it's easy to understand. She's gorgeous. Women in America admitted to spending as much as $90,000 for cosmetic surgery to get the so-called Ivanka look. Lee Yuxing from Foshan Ivanka Medical Management said young women are lusting over Ivanka's features. She said, "Young women here want Ivanka's big eyes, her pretty nose and lips, and her flawless figure. Her facial figures, disproportion, and appearance are perfect, no matter whether they are judged by the beauty standards of the East or the West." Its name, registered before the election, is the Chinese translation of Ivanka. The latest cosmetic surgery boom comes as business in the country pile in on Ivanka effect. Companies have been applying to register under the name Yawanka, with a vast range of products including underwear and sanitary towels. More than 250 businesses have lodged bids for Ivanka trademark since Dad Donald won the election in November last year. Melania, on the other hand, was quick to clamp down on companies using her name to make cash. Pictures of the First Lady popped up in a slurry of products in her native Slovenian after her husband's election, from pots of jam to shoes and lingerie. The Trump brand is exploding, isn't it? A huge billboard supporting a huge picture of her face appeared in a small hometown as businesses hoped the area's new fame would boost tourism. But her lawyers issued a warning to locals, saying the words Trump, Melania, and Melania Trump are all protected trademarks. That's hilarious. Gonna be a bunch of Ivanka Trumps walking around. Wow, new study is out on deplorable campaigns and it's bad. Hey, Hillary Clinton can't even walk on her own weight. Honestly, I believe it was the evil that she endowed in her entire career, and the people she killed was weighing on her, as if the demons themselves were tearing her apart. Well, she collapsed at the 9/11 memorial. It became quite clear to me that the evil she helped create was weighing in on her, and at the 9/11 memorial she ended up collapsing under the pressure. For what goes around comes around. An academic study has determined that Hillary Clinton ran the most deplorable campaign in modern history. From the Daily Caller, a new academic study analyzing the 2016 presidential election has determined that Hillary Clinton and her multitude of handlers ran a deplorably awful campaign that was probably the worst campaign for national office in modern political era. Well, it's certainly the most money spent in a modern political era. However, I agree with them. The study entitled Political Advertising in 2016, the Presidential Election as Outlier, suggests that the biggest reason Clinton lost was because she decided not to need advertising in several critical important states, and that, when she did advertise, her ads failed to address substantive political issues. Well, that's true, because she spent all the time attacking Donald Trump without going over her own issues. Why? Because she had no issues. She represented the exact same thing we've had. The trio of political science researchers behind the study, Erica Franklin Fowler, Michael M. Franz, and Travis N. Rideout, observed that Clinton did not run a significant number of advertisements in three key states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, until the very last, warning days of her 2016 campaign. It makes me wonder where the hell all that money went then. If she wasn't even advertising in these three key states, she got over $1 trillion, for fuck's sakes. In Michigan and Wisconsin, for example, the Clinton campaign ran almost zero ads until days before the election, then a few days just because the election. The number of ads Clinton ran in both Michigan and Wisconsin skyrocketed from virtually zero to over 6,000, over 4,000 respectively. Sponsored links by President Donald Trump also advertised very little in Michigan and Wisconsin, but he advertised more than Clinton did in weeks leading up to the election. Both Clinton and Trump chose to advertise far less in 2016 than either Barack Obama or Mitt Romney did in 2012. Well, I find that hard to believe. Mainly because all the ads I've seen against Trump and so little ads I've seen against Hillary, I find that hard to believe. A second reason Clinton lost, the researchers say, is because she almost utterly failed to address actual substantive policy issues in her campaign advertisements, and instead mostly either criticized Trump or spoke about herself in glowing terms. Remember that one? Well, why aren't I 50 points ahead? Remember that? Clinton spent fully 65% of her advertising time either criticizing Trump in personal terms or yammering on about herself, according to the professors. Only about 25% of Clinton's ads message were devoted to policy issues. The remaining 10% of the time, Clinton managed to talk about some combination of policy issues and either herself or Trump. By way of comparison, the researchers say Trump discussed policy issues over 70% of the time in his ads. In past elections, presidential candidates tended to focus on policy issues in their advertising campaigns. Obama stuck to the issues confronting Americans about 75% of the time in his 2012 ads. For example, Romney stuck to the issue over 80% of the time in his presidential election victories in 2000 and 2004. George W. Bush discussed policy issues about 70% of the time and about 60% of the time in political ads, respectively, the researchers say. It's much more difficult for advertising to have an impact in a media environment that is saturated with sensational media coverage of the campaign and of two already well-known candidates, but that does not mean that all advertising fails to work. The Wesleyan Media Project said in a press release, "Message matters, and message repeated endlessly does no good unless it resonates with sufficient number of the right voters. Team Clinton's message that Trump was unfit for the presidency may have not been enough." But what this article fails to depict is the fact that Trump worked his ass off. He was doing 2 or 3 rallies a day across the country, different states, different places, 2 to 3 a day. And then by the last 2 weeks of the election, if people remember, of course soon they forget, that Trump was running like 4 to 5 rallies per day. in battleground states, reaching the hearts and the minds of people. Hillary Clinton was at home, picking her ass, while Trump was winning the West. And how sweet it was. No one ever outworked Trump. There's not a president in history that I can remember that outworked Trump when it come to rally and connecting to the population. Perhaps the greatest public speaker in our time, President Trump.